All right, are we ready to go live?
I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm so ready. Lindy,
Okay.
let's go live.
Cool.
Lindy?
We're all set. We're live.
All right, awesome. I'm so glad we are finally live. This technology thing is amazing, and yet when it doesn't work, it is the most horrible thing on the earth.
Absolutely.
So, hi, Suzanne. Thank you so
How
much
are
for
you,
joining
Daphne?
me again. I am doing
Very
really great.
That is good. That is good. So we're talking about interesting things today. I'm interested in your topic: design, delegate, decide, and do. Tell me about that from your point of view.
All right. So what I'm seeing is a lot of the times when business owners get into a position or into a business, they are really, really frantic. A lot of the time they are jack of all trades. They don't have time. They are always making all the decisions. Even when they do delegate, it's very difficult for the person that is being delegated to actually take full control over something. The owner of the business still have to make the decisions, do all of that. So sometimes it works out just faster for the owner to do it themselves. And that's usually exactly where the issues come in. So this is why today's topic, we're talking about design versus delegate, decision, and doing. Because a lot of the times, this is exactly the part where the owners of all businesses get stuck. They don't know how to go from doing to actually making decisions to delegating to someone for that person to take responsibility over that object, and then so that the owner has a little bit more time in order to just design their business. What I mean with design the business is that it is what is the strategic way that you can create wealth for your specific business. What is the main thing that your business does that no one else does?
Yeah, good point. Because if you're working in that and making more money per hour or however, then obviously, if you're going to do the things that you could delegate, then you're paying, it's costing you many, many more dollars per hour, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. It's an absolute, like, it's a trap that I fell into. I'm sure it's a trap that most people fall into because they don't want to give up control of things. Like, I would love to hand over the bookwork, the paper stuff to someone else. Some of it I can, and some of it I can't. But the accounts, I'd love to hand that over to somebody. But I still need to know what's going on, don't I? As a business owner, I still need to be in a bit of control about where I am, where the dollars are, how many are coming in and how many are going out. Oh, I think I've lost Daphne for a minute. So that idea of getting some balance in those 4Ds, making sure that you're doing. Sorry, I lost you there for a bit, Daphne, so I just kept talking.
Thank you. Please do recap, because yes, I'd love to hear what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Just here in Texas, we've got a hurricane passing, and it is currently affecting the signals that we're having. So I'm very happy that I am still online, but we do have some signal issues. So it might happen again, but
So if you disappear, send me a message and let me know you're okay. Don't want you blowing away. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm steering clear of that Dorothy's yellow brick road right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Put your red shoes on.
Where will we end up? So sorry.
So I think what I was saying when you disappeared was, I think it's a trap that most business owners fall into, especially if you, like me, we're a sole practitioner and you move into sort of an entrepreneur situation where you actually need somebody else to be doing, like I need somebody else now to be doing the back end technical stuff, and I would love somebody to be doing the back end accounting work, and I would really love it if somebody would take over the whole of the book side of things, the whole bookwork side of things. But you've got to still, as the owner, as the sole practitioner, so to speak, or as the CEO in your case, you've got to keep some control over all of those things,
Yeah.
don't you? So it's about finding a balance that works, where you're not costing yourself because you're doing those jobs that you could be paying much less for someone else to be doing. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. What I usually tell my clients and how it has worked for me personally is if I started tracking my time on exactly how much time per day do I spend on creating wealth for the company, how much time do I spend, if I can say, like working in the business, but that is not just delegating, it is actual decision making as well as doing. So in the beginning, I was very proud of myself that I was like, no, I am nailing it. I am not doing as much. I am delegating well, and I have extra time to do design and to create wealth for my business. But then it hit me. The amount of questions that I'm getting from my team was so overwhelming that I was still making all of the decisions. So all of the decision making was still me, and it is constantly, can I post it here? Can I do that? Can I use these colors? How do I do this? Where is that on the file? And it is like, guys, you know this. Why are you still asking me? When are you going to take responsibility for the outcome of it? And that was a very big turn for me. So that is where I started this time tracking, but specifically on wealth creation for my own team. And that's how I am able to help my clients and my customers on creating within them. But it starts with your own business. So in your practice, Suzanne, the sole practitioner, tell me a little bit about, if you just have to think of yesterday because it's your morning, but how much time did you spend in a day, in your 8-hour day? How much time did you spend doing? How much time did you spend delegating something, designing, or creating wealth for you? How much time did you spend on acquiring new clientele, for example, or making your business more efficient? And how much time did you spend on decision making?
Yeah, interesting question, because I've now allocated 2 days of my 5-day week to working on the business rather than in the business. So I'm still doing 3 days a week working one-on-one with clients. In those other 2 days, I'm working on that design and delegating, interestingly, to my tech expert who knows, the back end of all sorts of programs that I don't understand at all. So yesterday was maybe a bit of an unusual day in that sense, although 2 days out of the week I like that. The other 3 are completely different in just working one-on-one with clients. But it really is, for me, it's about balance and, watching that wealth creation, as you say, making sure that I'm doing enough of the one-on-one work, which is bringing in the money for now, until the other programs that I'm working on are bringing in money. So, it's an interesting balance. It's really quite challenging. And I like your 4D idea, because it, you can really think about it more clearly in that sense, can't you? What exactly are you doing? What part of what you're doing right now is designing, and what part is actually wealth creation, bringing in that money?
I have to add, I did steal this from a book called Run Like Clockwork. So if anyone is ever looking for a little bit more deeper, this is in Run Like Clockwork. It is an amazing book, and this is where the idea came in. Of course, every client and every person, when they do it in your business, works a little bit differently. What I want to chat about today is if we can use different aspects of our businesses to delve a little bit deeper, to get some examples for everyone that is watching on what is how can we save time, money, and effort by making a decision versus delegating? So to give you an example, that was my biggest, as I told you before, this was my personal biggest issue. How do I delegate, and how do I empower my team to make better decisions? And what I had to realize is they need to take responsibility of the outcome. When my team is able to take responsibility of the outcome, that means I don't need to make that many decisions. Because now, whatever the result of that decision is on them. So I can see from a bird's eye view, that might not be the best outcome. I need to be able and to be strong enough to shut my own mouth and to still empower that. And then after, tell them, that was really good, well done, to still reward that decision making, and then go, next time, think about maybe X, Y, Z. And then in these three scenarios, which one do you think would be a better outcome?
That's good. That's good because, it's sitting on your hands, and when you know that the outcome could be even better if you do it this way, sitting on your hands and letting them develop, because you've been in the game a lot longer than they have, no doubt. So you've got a lot more experience and a lot more knowledge about what works and what doesn't. It's a bit like bringing up children, really, isn't it? It's a bit like letting them make their own mistakes so that they can grow and learn. Challenging.
Yes, I have to admit that is sometimes how it feels. But all right, now we are in this empowerment stage. What is the tool set that you can give your team that creates a skill set for them to create a different mindset? And that's the next thing, where it is delegating versus decision making. Because we are able now to give them to delegate something. It means with the outcome attached to that, I need to completely let go. But how did I empower them beforehand in order to set them up for success?
Yep, good question. And it really is like, you're going to get in a team like you're building, you're going to get all sorts of people who are confident and lacking confidence, and people who know they can do it and believe they can do it, and people who just are not sure, self-esteem not so great, and so on. So it's really an interesting challenge. You've got to, I mean, my situation is completely different because I'm not bringing in a team. I've chosen this one person who's helping me, and I can trust her about 95% of the time, and that has to be good enough, unless I choose somebody else, of course. But in yours is a different situation. So building on their confidence, I guess. Really, the challenge is to find out what's going on for each individual person, isn't it? And find out what blocks are in the way for them, because it will be different for them all as well. But you giving them, as you say, you've given them the range to I mean, your idea is great, because you're what I'm understanding about your business is you're saying to these people, if you come in with me, you can create wealth. And I'm here to help you along the way. I'm here to help you on the journey, but you're going to be, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of independent and able to do things in your own way to a certain degree too. And the amount of wealth you create is going to be dependent on what you put in.
Exactly.
But
that mindset, I realize, is a lot more difficult than what it sounds and what it appears.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, go on. I was going to say it's a real challenge, isn't it? Because everybody's in a different situation. If I understand your team, you've got people all around the world, and you've got people with different backgrounds and different experiences that they all bring to the team, which is good. There's great things about that, but there's also challenges about that too. So
indeed,
showing them that you believe in them is huge, and part of that is sitting on your hands and letting them make mistakes, I guess. To some degree.
It is. I must admit that is something that I'm personally still working on, is to allow them to do what they need to do and not be too quick or too harsh afterwards.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's all a process.
Mm.
Mm.
But now let's chat about the design versus doing. Now the doing
Yes.
part is for me it's a schlep. This is that is just my personality and the way that I do. I hate doing things myself. I really
Sure.
do. Uh, so I am really good at giving other people to do it to free up my time to do what I do best, which is more of the design aspect, thinking about the strategy. How can I streamline this? What is the new technology that is out there? Can we make use of a
Mm.
specific technology? So that's what I know I'm really good at. However,
Yeah.
what I have also realized is after like the sixth or the seventh time that I'm like, please do this, I tend to then just jump in and do it myself,
Mm.
which that there's now again the extra set of challenges where I'm like, all right, but I did ask you to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are tasks that are that they can do, like they've been trained to do and have the
Of
knowledge
course.
to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly adds to the challenge, that's for sure. Because when you're doing, you're not in wealth creation, I imagine. You're doing all those tasks that are costing you much more because you're doing something that somebody who normally would earn much less is doing, would normally be doing.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
now we come into what is the perceived value of money. Because if
Yes.
I ask you, for example, hey, would you mind just running to Starbucks? Here is $30. Just get me an
Yeah.
ice or something and come back. It's going to
Yes.
take you 5 minutes. So initially, you're going to be like $100. That is, or $40 or whatever. That is quite a bit of money for this amount. Um,
Yeah.
all right, cool. But in that time that you went, I was able to close a deal for $100,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, would you start feeling cheated, or would you be feeling that this is unfair because I
Yeah.
asked you to do something and I rewarded you, which you initially thought that was wow, and now when you
Yeah.
learned that what I was able to do in the external time, how would that make you feel? Would that be fair now or not? Because it's exactly the same amount, but the perception has changed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The perception has definitely changed. In that situation, I just want to be you and not me. So I'd be looking at that situation and going, okay, well, if that's how this works, then I need to be more like Daphne and less like me. I need to be doing, you know, that kind of work that she's been doing. And I want to be doing more of that to earn more money.
But that's
Yeah.
exactly what this exercise is trying to
Yeah.
elaborate, trying to explain that if you are design, my apologies, if you are creating wealth more and doing less, how does that
Yeah.
affect the monetary value that comes in? But if your
Yes.
time is now being built up by making all the decisions still, can you scale? Because now you're still
Yeah.
not empowering the people to take this on
No.
your behalf.
Exactly. And there's only so many hours in the day, there's only so much doing that you can be doing in one day. And that
Mm.
takes away from the time that you could be spending in wealth creation. So yeah, interesting. Interesting. I think it always is going to come back to balance, isn't it? I mean, there are certain things that you are going to have to be doing and certain things that you'll want to be training your team to be doing, encouraging them to be doing. But if they're not doing, then they're not part of the team as far as
Yeah.
as far as I would see it. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I 100% agree with you, but that's exactly where the challenge is. And I know that there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of entrepreneurs that are actually getting a lot more frustrated with their own businesses because it's like they created their own jail for themselves.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we need to break through of. How do I break through this jail that I've created for myself by now I have to make all the decisions. Now I can't delegate, or I'm not actually working on the business, I'm working in the business.
Yeah.
And this is the
Yeah.
part where if you are able to time track everything that you have been doing and first of all just visually see, all right, majority of my time is going to doing. For me, it was majority of my time was doing a decision making.
Yep.
How do I regulate this so that majority of my time is actually spent on wealth creating?
Yeah. And it's different at different stages of the business too, isn't
Yeah.
it? So, yeah, I mean, you want to be aiming for that ideal balance where you're mostly working on the business and designing and making decisions rather than and delegating to other people and having other people do those things that they can do that you
That's
can
the
let go of.
responsibility of the
Yeah,
outcome. Because if they don't
yeah,
take responsibility, even though you've assigned a task, that
yeah.
just means that like a box has been checked. I always see it like this, specifically
Mm,
in like stories that some of my team create on behalf of a client. I always call it like either it was a lazy story or there's no love in it, but that means they
yeah,
just tick the box. That doesn't mean that they
yeah,
took responsibility for the outcome. When they take
yeah,
responsibility for the outcome, then you can see the love in the post. It usually has correct tagging, it has hashtagging, it has conversation starters. It's not just a share, but it's an upload. It is making use of the platform functionality.
yeah,
It creates a whole different experience when you're looking at the post versus an unloved, lazy post. And that's the
yes,
part that we
yeah,
need to focus on for anyone when you delegate for that person that you delegated to take responsibility of the
yeah,
outcome. How did that specific task that you did, how did that task create wealth for the team?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's going to be so dependent on each of those individual people because some people are what I would call lazy. Don't want to be mean, but yeah, they're not. They're just not keen to be that involved in the business as you would want them to be. Obviously, you want them to come in with love and intention to make it the best it can possibly be, and so on. And it's not going to be everybody who will do that. So it's a bit of a filtering system, isn't it? For in your building of your team, it's a bit of a filtering system of those who are willing and taking responsibility and capable of doing it. And there
Mm.
are plenty of those people out there. There are certainly plenty of those people out there. So it's just a matter of filtering out the ones who can't and won't and don't, and bringing in more of the ones who can and will and intend to make it the best it can be, for sure.
But I want to
Yeah.
touch, as you're saying that, I want to touch on the limiting beliefs. And I know
Yeah,
that
sure.
is reality. When
Yeah.
someone does not take responsibility of the outcome, can it
Yeah.
also be that sometimes they just don't believe that they can? That
Yeah.
they have.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I would love to hear your input and even just delve a little deeper into what a limiting belief can affect, not just the business or the team, but also
Yeah.
then this responsibility of the outcome.
Absolutely. It can affect so much because if you've got a limiting belief, for example, probably the most common one is I'm not good enough,
Mm.
then you don't even try. Like you don't even lift yourself up to try because unconsciously it's not going to be good enough. And so you don't even try. And if you've got a limiting belief that is, from somewhere in the past that you've been told you're never going to make it, then you just don't try. And that would be, I was very careful about the lazy word before, but I think I would put all those people who I would maybe have labeled lazy in a not very kind way, have a limiting belief about themselves. And if you can shift that limiting belief, and you can, then that all turns around. So, yeah, I think, identifying those limiting beliefs and if they're willing, clearing those limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs are put in place usually from 0 to 7, so conception to 7 or 8, when children are in a theta brainwave pattern and they look at something that's going on and they take on board that it was because of them. And it wasn't
Mm.
at all. Like I took on board that I was not good enough because my parents, I believed it was my role in life to come and make them happy. And they obviously weren't happy because they were downstairs in our downstairs Sydney apartment having an argument about where we were going to live. And I was upstairs in the cot inside the room with the door shut, screaming in absolute rage because I couldn't, and I was 2 years old at the time. and screaming in absolute rage because I couldn't make them happy. So I couldn't fulfill my purpose in coming to the earth. So for me as a 2-year-old, theta brainwave pattern, that meant that I was not good enough. And I carried that belief. Once you've got it in your energy system, you carry it throughout life and you gather more evidence that it's true when it was never true in the first place. That was a complete nonsense when you think about it. I was a little tiny baby. They were thinking I was asleep. They were downstairs having a conversation about where we were going to live, where we were going to be happy as a family. It was nothing to do with me at all, but I took it on board that it was my fault. And that's what children do. But the problem is once you've got that belief in your energy field, you attract more evidence of it. So, yeah, definitely, if you've got people in your team who have a limiting belief about themselves, not good enough, not lovable enough, never going to make it, have been maybe told by a teacher or a parent that they're useless or hopeless or, whatever the thing is, some people will override it by kind of pulling on their big girl panties, big boy panties and getting on with life and doing the best they can. But they still have that stuck energy in their energy field. And then at some point when the stress is on, they will lapse back into that belief. So it's really important to identify that belief and go back and clear it. And it's not in your conscious mind, which is the tricky bit. So I have a technique that I use called matrix re-imprinting, where we identify what that belief is and go back and find the original event that caused it to be planted in your energy field. And then we can release the trauma of it and then re-imprint a new belief about yourself. And that belief then, so if for example, myself, my belief was I'm not good enough. I cleared the trauma of it. I re-imprinted a new belief that I am good enough. And now I can do anything, really. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. I mean, I jumped out of a plane when I was 60, for example, or, I'm building a business at 68 that, maybe I should have built when I was 48 or 38 or something, but I didn't have the knowledge back then. And back then I had that belief that I was not good enough. So when you clear that belief, it changes everything. It really does.
How are you able? How were you able to pinpoint that specific lifetime moment? That was a what do you call it? A crux moment or a
pivotal moment or
a milestone in life.
Yeah. You know by what's going on in your current life. So my experiences at the time when I discovered it, my experiences were a pattern of I'm not good enough, a pattern of believing that I wasn't as good as other people, not speaking up in groups, certainly not talking, with somebody on a venue like this, not writing a book as I've written, all those kinds of things. All of those things, the pattern was there. It's a repeating pattern throughout your life, and you'll find it comes up in your love relationship, comes up in your workplace, or it comes up when you sabotage your own goals. And I was doing all three of them. All three of those things were evidence to me that something was amiss. So I worked with another practitioner, and we discovered the actual trauma. And using matrix re-imprinting, we cleared it and then rewrote that belief about myself. So the easiest way to know there's something amiss is when you're not performing, you're not living in alignment, body, mind, and soul in alignment. You're not living your best life. And then something is up. And then more often than not, I would say 100% of the time, but let's give it a little bit of room for there's something going on, and it's probably a limiting belief from childhood. And once you clear it, everything turns around. And I've seen it so many thousands of times now with clients. It's undeniable.
How old were you when this happened?
I was 2 when this event happened, but when I discovered the thing, probably about 55.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And
so
how
for
was your life?
55 years of my life, I'd carried that faulty belief and lived, I saw my life through those poo-coloured glasses.
And how did your life change from the limiting belief that you cleared and you rectified to a fulfilled life, but specifically in your work environment? How did that change?
Personally, it's from that point of I am good enough, I've got a right to be walking on this earth and I've got a right to be here, but that's a really personal thing. But that plays through in every area of your life. So in your business, like for me, I had by that stage, by 55, I'd probably been being a sole practitioner for, what is that? Maybe 5 years, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So I'd worked in jobs that I didn't like for a long period of time. Then I'd gone to university and studied psychology and finally got the qualification as a psychologist. But it was that pulling up your big girl panties process and just getting on with it and pushing through the process. Still at the same time not believing that you were good enough to do it. And then starting the business and sort of having it, as all new businesses do, falter and stop and start. And, I started and it was full of intention, and then I had to go and get a job to earn the money to keep going. But once I cleared that limiting belief, then everything changed. My business just exploded, a number of clients coming, the confidence in me radiated out to those people, and I was doing much, much better work with them and doing, work that I'm really proud of in helping people break through their own barriers and so on. Whereas before I was doing it, but I was really struggling to do it. So it's a matter of the struggle versus doing it with ease and grace, I think, which is why I said before, I think when you're looking at people and you're identifying a laziness or a lack of responsibility or something like that, there's probably a limiting belief underlying it. And so, identifying and clearing that's going to make an enormous difference to people. Because I think we all want to live our best life and we all deserve to live our best life. We just don't really know how to do it most of the time.
But it seems like when you clear limiting beliefs about yourself and even your environment, that the way that you impact other lives and the way that you create wealth is a lot more powerful, and that will impact your doing and your decision making and your delegating, as well as just the overall wealth creation and increasing of your business.
Yeah. And it's not perfect. Like I wouldn't say now I've got it all figured out and I'm living my perfect life, but it's a life where I feel completely confident and calm that no matter what happens, I can handle it. That was new, in those early years of making that change. But it's so part of who I am now that I know no matter what happens, I can handle it. And when you've got that kind of confidence and when you feel that kind of ease and grace, it does radiate. It radiates out. We're all energetic beings. So, people read it and feel it and are attracted to it and want to do business with you, want to whatever it is with you. Yeah.
I know, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But there's also part of the, if I can call it, business lessons that when we're busy in the mastermind that I really, really want to impart into our superwomen entrepreneurs community, that it is the minute you break through your limiting beliefs, but it is also a way to break through the jail that a majority of entrepreneurs do create for themselves.
Yeah.
So if we're tackling each and every one of these aspects, we've done our time tracking, we have seen how we are spending our time, because a lot of time we don't actually even know how we spend our time. It's the same thing with budgeting. If you actually write down in a month's time just exactly what you've spent on what, oh wow, those Starbucks coffees add up.
Especially when you're paying $100 a shot.
So for me, it's exactly the same principle. And what you apply in the one aspect of your life should actually be applied in different aspects of your life, which include in your business departments.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you have a system or a pattern, consistency always trumps talent. I'm a 100% believer in that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you carry on, or you take that into the design phase or the delegate phase or the decision making or the doing phase, it will, first of all, open up a whole lot of things that you might not even know.
Yeah.
And it will definitely give you a lot more information in order to make better decisions. right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you're in that state, the state that I feel like I'm in now, you feel confident and clear about the decisions you make. So there's no self-doubt and, one step forward and two steps backwards, which is the old pattern, so that you really you're moving through the world and through your business in a much easier way, much easier state, without doubting, without fear, free of all those negative emotions that hold us all back, really.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people
One
are.
thing.
Sorry, I was going to say a lot of people are stuck in that jail that you mentioned because they fear the alternative. The
Yeah.
alternative takes courage and belief in yourself, and
Yeah.
you can get it. You can absolutely get that. Yeah.
No, I
Hopefully,
100%.
in our mindset, people who come into the mindset will get some of that from the work that we do. I'm sure they will.
All right. That sounds actually very doable. So how do we bring this into our business? So if you don't mind, can we take your business as a example? Because majority of startups is a solo entrepreneur.
Yeah,
If you're making skincare or you're making some product of a sort, majority of the time you are a startup when it is beginning. So
absolutely.
when you do your doing, that's when you actually start seeing clients, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And right now, how much of that percentage makes up your 100% of time?
It's 12 hours a week with actual face-to-face client time. So I'm probably working about 50 hours a week all up. So,
All right,
and
so
that's because I'm in the building phase of the new part of the business, which is the online part of the business. So what's that, about a third?
50%
50,
of your
yeah.
time is then roughly about spent on your doing. All right.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of other team members right now, you are also doing decision making and you are doing delegating.
Yes. And the design. So yeah, the delegating has always been a challenge for me, actually. Letting go of things, letting go of the control of things is always a challenge. So you've got to find those people that you trust who are able to do it. And you've got complete confidence that they can, 95% confidence that they can do it, and just let them do it. And they'll do it to the best of their ability with their own limits. Yeah. And you have to.
I agree with you, but right now that is not scalable, which means if
Yeah.
you get to about 70% of your time in doing, you kind of really filled up. That means there's not a lot more of income. So the only thing that you could do is either raise your prices in order to still grow.
Which I've just done. Yes, exactly.
Congratulations on
It
that.
took me a long time to do that. I think 14 years I stayed at the same rate until
That is
I
amazing.
eventually raised.
Congratulations. And just by the way, did you maybe lose any clientele during that?
I don't think, maybe one and two people who questioned it, but still come. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So that was actually my point that I wanted to make. Majority of the time for solo entrepreneurs that is scared or fear-based in order to raise their prices, majority of the time you already have such a good relationship and you have given so much value to your clientele that they really don't care.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've often heard about people raising or doubling their prices and having more people come because now they're valuing themselves in the way they should. Makes such a difference. Yeah.
Exactly. So that is a congratulations on that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the one thing. But all right, so you can raise prices, which you've done now. Another thing that you could potentially do is I don't know if you charge everyone at the same rate, but another strategy that we do and that I know could work for other solo entrepreneurs is to cut the bottom 15% of your income.
I heard you say, or saw you say that on a post, and I thought, what do you mean? So explain that if you could, please.
All right. So what we mean with that is if you've got let me just answer Uluwatu. We are currently live on Facebook and on Clubhouse. So thank you so much for joining. The other hosts are currently on the Facebook Live if you want to join us there. But thank you so much for listening. I have my Clubhouse app open as well so that it's stream live on both platforms, as many as we possibly could. All right, to get back to you on how do we increase our revenue by cutting the bottom 15% of our clientele. So let's say, for example, you have your rates at, just example, $350 an hour, but for a couple session, you have it at $550 or whatever the point may be. If you've got that few clients that you still charge $299 or whatever the rate might be, for whatever reason it may be, you cut those bottom 50% off. That leaves growth for your pricing to still increase while your capacity has now increased because now you can take more clients on. However, it will also clear your reputation because now you're no longer known for the $299 sessions. Like, go to her or whatever, because now you've opened up the door to say, thank you so much. I really appreciate you as being a client of mine. My prices have raised. If this is not for you, I can refer you to someone else. But this is my journey. I would love to add more value to your life. So thank you so much for joining, or thank you so much for being part of this, but this is my new way of going. By doing that, you will not be known at a certain price point. It will increase your growth, your increase in revenue, as well then create more capacity for you to take on new clientele of a higher income range. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. That makes absolute sense. I wish I'd talked to you years ago. I could have done some changes. I'm actually just releasing, actually yesterday was launch day. I almost didn't make it this morning because I was so exhausted from working late last night, launching my new program. And I've got another one to launch next week. So it's like, oh, so much going on in this building this new business, you know, designing and producing and getting it out there that I don't really have the energy for those clients as I have in the past. So it's really, it's kind of what you're saying, bit of a different like way to look at it, but it is kind of the way you're saying what you're saying.
Exactly. So congratulations on that as well. It feels like this is the actual success of you being part of the mastermind as well, that you've been able to increase your rates, you've been able to launch new products, and you've been able to create a higher income reputation, which means you've got more perceived value that you also give to clients. So congratulations on that. That is amazing, man.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah. It certainly feels good.
So that being said, we've also launched our consulting part of our business. So anyone that likes to go have a look at daphnethompson.com. This is our consulting part in order to help business owners increase and create wealth, not just through marketing, but through their business itself. And this is where all these different strategies are coming in as well. How to streamline each and every one of your departments, how to save time so that you can, for example, one of my clients wants to take a 6-month sabbatical. So how do we structure their business in order to have it sustainable, hopefully growing, but having it sustainable with a predictable income and a team that is no longer dependent on you? And that's where it is. So this is the starting point, the design versus delegate versus decision versus doing, in order to create wealth so that you as entrepreneur and as business owner are no longer trapped within this bubble of I need to do everything.
And all the resentment that brings with it. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So either that results in this is just not for me and I'll go work for someone else, again, building someone else's dream.
Absolutely.
And by doing that, you are technically affecting the lives of so many other people that was part of this journey with you, that believed in the vision, even if you were a solo entrepreneur, because you still have a support system, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. And, you know, when you're doing, as it sounds like you are, when you're doing what you're passionate about, then it's not like work at all, really, is it? It's actually, you know, enjoying your life and doing the things that you love every day. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's
I
getting out of
am
the jail, definitely.
I'm really, really excited about all of that. I am super excited. I am.
Good.
So yeah, anyone, please, I'd love
Excellent.
to chat to you about your business and seeing how we can increase your goals, increase your reach and your business, just so that you can also have that 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is, sabbatical that you actually want. The thing is that we would love to create is at least a 4-week break. And the reason why it's
Yeah.
4 weeks is in that period, your business would gone through a whole cycle of
Yeah.
invoicing, of reporting, of problem solving, of starting usually a new project or something. And that is the ultimate test of kind of like how did the systems that we put in place is working while you're on holiday.
Mm. Yeah,
And of
absolutely.
course, there's a massive amount of preparation that we're doing beforehand, but it is possible.
And once you get that month sorted, then you can do it again and again, can't you? Eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
beauty of what we're trying to create here is that even if you want to, you can stay back into, but you don't have to.
Yeah. It's not required.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the freedom of being an entrepreneur that we're all looking for in the first place. Being able
Exactly.
to have the money rolling in without having to be there every minute of the day. Yeah.
Precisely.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Cool.
So on that note, let's chat again next week. Same time, same place. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for being here. Next week,
Pleasure.
Annie and Sylvia will be leading. So they're on.
Great.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please do follow us on Superwomen Entrepreneurs Facebook page, on our Instagram, Superwomen Entrepreneurs, and on our group. Join our group, Superwomen Entrepreneurs, and make sure that you connect with each and every one of us. We have some amazing things that are coming in the pipeline for our Superwomen Entrepreneurs Mastermind, and a whole lot of value that is about to hit the ground. We've got our first ebook ready that everyone will be seeing. So please get ready, join us, and join our Superwomen Entrepreneurs Global Mastermind, because if you are connected, you will be able to increase who you get around the right people, who you surround yourself. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And that is not just in your mindset, but it is also connected to your wealth. So think about that. Where do you want to be? Increase your people that you hang out with.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Daphne. We'll see you. We won't see you next week. I'll see you in a fortnight.
Yes. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be back. Thank you guys. Have an awesome time.
See you.
Bye.